There's a strange thing that happens when you watch horror from another country. You're not scared immediately, you're confused. The pacing feels off. The threat doesn't announce itself. You keep waiting for something familiar to happen. It never does. And that's when your instincts start failing you. 13 films, 9 countries. This is part 1. Spain. When escape stops being an option. Spain has given us some of the most respected horror films ever made. The Devil's Backbone, Thesis, Sleep Tight, all brilliant, all haunting. But for this journey, I chose 2 films for one very specific reason. They don't just scare you, they remove your options.
Muy buenas noches, les habla Ángela Vidal.
Late night shift, TV reporter, cameraman, fire crew, a routine call to an apartment building, nothing dramatic. Then the doors seal. No one gets in, no one gets out. And suddenly, routine stops existing. The camera becomes your eyes. The building becomes smaller with every step. What makes this film terrifying isn't just what's happening inside. It's the growing realization that help isn't coming the way you expect. You only see what the lens captures. You only understand things moments after they've already gone wrong. No wide shots, no clarity, no comfort. You're not watching this story, you're inside it. This film turns containment itself into the horror. Once escape becomes uncertain, every movement feels heavier. That's why it's here. Now Spain does something completely different. The orphanage. A woman returns to the orphanage where she grew up. She wants to reopen it, give it new life, turn old memories into something hopeful. Her young son starts talking to invisible friends, playing strange games with rules that don't make sense. Then something goes wrong, and everything shifts. What follows isn't a chase, it's a search. This film isn't about escaping a threat. It's about a mother trying to understand what's happening and what she's willing to believe. The house feels lived in by the past. Silence stretches. Memory becomes heavy. The film asks something deeply uncomfortable. What if the only way forward is to stop thinking like an adult? To play the games? To follow the rules you don't understand? To believe, not because it makes sense, but because love demands it. Japan. When fear doesn't leave. Japan has shaped modern horror more than almost any country. Ju-on, The Grudge, Pulse, Cairo, Dark Water, all masterpieces of dread. But the 2 films I chose show something even more unsettling. Fear that doesn't attack, it lingers. War, isolation, tall grass stretching endlessly in every direction. 2 women survive by doing whatever it takes. There are no armies here, no heroes, just hunger, fear, and exhaustion. The environment becomes a maze. Time feels suspended. The longer they stay isolated, the more desperation reshapes their choices. And when something unsettling enters their world, the atmosphere shifts completely. This film was chosen because its horror feels earned. Not sudden, not external, but grown slowly from survival, jealousy, and isolation. The real trap isn't the setting. It's the feeling that nothing will ever change. Ringu, a rumor, a videotape, a warning. A journalist begins investigating why people are afraid. The horror here isn't loud, it's quiet. Rooms feel emptier than they should. Phones ring at the wrong time. Waiting becomes unbearable. This film turns everyday objects into reminders. The fear doesn't rush you, it sits with you. That's why this film stands apart. It shows that some fear doesn't need to chase you, it just needs time. What if you can't tell who to trust? What if the danger wears a familiar face? This is part 2. This is where things collapse. South Korea, when truth slips away. South Korea has delivered some of the most emotionally intense horror ever made. I Saw the Devil, Train to Busan, Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. But the 2 films chosen here do something different. They take certainty away. The Wailing. A small rural village. People begin acting strangely. Violence erupts without clear explanation. At the center is a local police officer. Not a hero, just a man trying to keep things under control, especially when the problem starts moving closer to his family. Different explanations appear. Each one sounds convincing, until something complicates it. Advice conflicts, motives blur. You're not watching someone solve a mystery. You're watching someone struggle under uncertainty. The horror here isn't a creature. It's not knowing which choice will cost you everything. A tale of two sisters. Two sisters return home after being away. Their father is distant. Their stepmother is tense. The house feels heavy. Strange things begin happening. Sounds, moments that don't align, spaces that feel wrong. Slowly, the film changes how you look at what you're seeing. Memory becomes unreliable. Perception shifts. This film turns the home into a psychological maze. Not because it's large, but because the mind keeps rewriting the path. Some things don't respond to rituals or solutions. And that's what makes it terrifying. Iran, when home stops feeling safe. Under the Shadow, Tehran, 1988. War. Missiles fall across the city. A mother and her daughter try to survive inside an apartment. Leaving isn't always possible. Staying doesn't feel safe either. Something unseen begins affecting the space they live in. The apartment shrinks. Choices disappear. Fear doesn't come from one direction. Both the outside world and the place meant to protect you begin to feel restrictive. This film turns survival into endurance, not escape. Scandinavia. Fear in plain sight. Scandinavia flips horror inside out. Instead of darkness, there's light. Instead of isolation, there's openness, and that makes everything worse. The Innocents, Norway. Summer, bright skies, a quiet residential complex. A group of children spend time together. They test boundaries, small ones at first, then bigger ones. Adults are nearby, but not watching closely enough. The horror here comes from watching empathy fail to develop. Power appears before responsibility, and nothing stops it. Let the Right One In, Sweden. A lonely child, bullied, invisible. Then someone new moves in next door, a figure who understands isolation. A friendship forms. The figure at the center of this story isn't presented in a traditional way. The fear here isn't about violence. It's about loneliness. How much someone might accept just to feel seen, and what that loneliness makes you willing to overlook. Part 3. How long can you sit with discomfort before you need it to stop? This is the deep end. India. When the past pushes back. India has created unforgettable horror in recent years. Pari, Tumbad, Stree, each powerful in its own way. But the film chosen here does something rarer. It doesn't argue with belief, it listens to it. Mani Chitra Tazu, 1993. A modern couple moves into an ancestral mansion. The house is grand, quiet, heavy with history. There's a room that's been kept locked for years. There are stories attached to it, warnings passed down, never questioned. At first, everything feels manageable. Then strange things begin happening inside the house. Sounds, movements, patterns that don't fit. The question becomes unavoidable. Is the house reacting to something unseen? Or is something inside the human mind responding to pressure it can no longer hold? Italy. When sensation replaces logic. Italy helped define stylish horror. Tenebrae, Deep Red, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Films built on mystery and deduction. The film chosen here discards all of that. Suspiria, 1977. A young student arrives at a prestigious dance academy. From the start, nothing feels stable. Colors feel aggressive. Sounds feel overwhelming. Spaces feel unfamiliar, even when they shouldn't. Things happen without explanation, and the longer you stay, the clearer it becomes. This place doesn't operate by normal rules. Most horror wants you to follow the story. Suspiria wants you to experience it. The film prioritizes mood over meaning, sensation over structure. You don't analyze it, you absorb it. Turkey, when disbelief fails. Dabe, The Possession, 2013. A skeptical psychiatrist and a traditional exorcist investigate a woman believed to be possessed. One trusts diagnosis, the other trusts belief. They enter a remote village expecting clarity. They don't find it. The environment feels resistant. The rules feel unfamiliar. And something about the situation feels asymmetrical. The fear doesn't come from spectacle. It comes from realizing that your assumptions don't apply. France, when horror stops comforting you. French horror has never been gentle. Inside, high tension, frontiers. But the film chosen here removes even the last layer of comfort. Martyrs, 2008. The story begins with trauma, with damage that hasn't healed, with people searching for meaning in what happened to them. From there, the film moves forward without compromise. No relief, no reassurance, no emotional safety net. There are no easy interpretations here, no neat framing. Sometimes, pain doesn't transform into meaning. Sometimes it simply exists, and what you do with that realization is up to you. This is where the journey ends. If you've made it this far, you already know something shifted, and that might be the most unsettling part of all. If you want more, you can watch this video about romance thrillers.